Got told to F off by my assignment group, and that's just what I did. I do a computer science degree at university. We had a group work project which is set out in 2 stages. Part A involved making an application and writing a report about it, 50-50th split. Part B, we got feedback from Part A and had to improve upon it. In total it was 100% of a module. It is also important to note that there is a group contribution report GCR, where each student puts in how much they think each student has done. I was in a randomly selected group with 4 others. We each picked a parts of the work that we wanted to do. I was apparently the group's most confident coder, so assigned myself about half of the code. And finish up my work in about the first 3 weeks and work on other projects I have for other modules. Then soon after I finished my work, the others ask me if I can do their parts of the code too. I initially protest as I have my other coursework due, but eventually I say fine, but so long as it is noted in the GCR they all agree. I sweat it out over the next 3 weeks or so alongside my other coursework. I contacted my module organizer explaining that I had done half the work, and they suggested if people weren't pulling their weight to leave the group, taking my code with me, and do the report. That would mean I would need to work flat out to produce the report and probably would mess it up. I didn't want that. The deadline was in about a week. And I CBA. Then I got asked to do some report too, because they didn't understand how the code worked. By this point I felt pretty used by them. Didn't really mind so long as I got the marks. All in all I worked out that I had done the workload of 3 people. There was talk amongst the others of all writing that we each contributed 20% of the workload to make us look better as a team. I flatly refused. They exploded calling me with every name under the sun, swearing at me, telling me to F off. I sent off my GCR with 60 for me and 10 each for the rest. And thought that was that. My module organizer then emailed me asking if I had any proof of this, as they all put me at 0% and themselves at 25%. I'd worked my ass off on this project, putting in 150 hours on the code and another 50 on the diagrams and report. All while attending lectures 20 hours a week. Over 7 weeks, which if you do that maths averages at an extra 4 hours a day. On top of all my other assignments and commitments etc. There was no way I was letting it slide. I emailed him back linking him to the GitHub I used to share the code with the team. GitHub is a source control that shows who made changes to the code. And showed him that all the commits, version of the code, were done by me, proving that I did all of it. And thankfully we did the whole report on Google Drive, so I could also see the history on that document and send him screenshots of all the alterations made by me, proving that I wrote 20% of the report also. He added it all up and made a special exception for my group, saying he would give me most credit for the work. I think I ended up with a 65 and they all get 11 for the whole coursework part A. They would need 69% to even pass the module. So turned out I fucked up a bit on the code, only getting about 50% of the marks with like a massive issue in it. Dumb me. For anyone interested, I didn't make a MVC structure correctly. But my report sections were near perfect. Spelling mistakes, a common thing I do, and formatting etc. There were a few glaring mistakes from the report that they had written, but other than that not bad. When they found out their marks they started calling me up, and emailing me and messaging me almost for about 3 hours. I was happily out at the time and didn't have my phone with me, so didn't respond. My module organizer sent an email explaining that they had lied, and he had proof about it, so corrected the marks according. When I got back to my phone I screenshot all the messages they had sent and recorded all the voicemails, including the ones they had sent previously. Including multiple occasions where everyone in the group told me to F off. And F off I did. I sent all these voicemails and screenshots to my module organizer requesting that I leave my group, and understand that it is more work for me, but I'd rather not deal with that. He agreed and also escalated the messages to someone higher up. At this point I quit the group and decided to work on part B by myself. Taking all of my code with me. Removing their access to all of it. I of course asked my module organizer first, and they said it was fine as it was my work, and if I was no longer in their group the others couldn't submit it. I fixed the error in the code in about 2 weeks. Then did the whole report from scratch almost, and added a load about the fix, taking me about 7 weeks. I then get messages from the group to please come back, we really need you kinda stuff on the end few days of the assignment. They even offered to pay me. I screenshot it and send it to the module organizer, just to let him know what is happening, and then just ignore them. I ended up submitting 2 weeks early for the deadline and got 100% on the whole section too. Which is basically unheard at university, especially by yourself for group work. Later that day I get an email from a plagiarism and collusion officer. Not someone you ever want to get an email from. Basically says I'm summoned to a hearing as an external body looked at both my group, me, myself and my old group's coursework and thought it was very similar. I get the whole project that my group handed in and my own back as evidence so I can look and prepare my answer to their questions. I email my module organizer, ask if he supports me in this, because basically they can punish all of you or one group, never nobody. He says yes, he supports me in this. Perfect. I prepare for this meeting by going through the hundreds of commits I have made, while they had access to find the one that is most similar to it. I find a perfect match, 0 differences, not even a single character. through the thousands of lines of code. So I turn up to this meeting, there is the VP of computing there, guy who could basically do whatever the hell he wants to us. My old group, when asked to present their answer as to why this has happened, go on about how they did all of it by themselves, blah blah. You get the point. This goes on for about 10 minutes. Then I am asked to present my argument. I ask if I can share my screen. VP, yeah okay, puzzled. So I share it. Show all the screenshots I took, as some of the people in the meeting weren't aware that we knew each other. Including them basically begging for me to come back, offering money to. And as if this wasn't enough to convince them, I then showed me downloading a fresh version of what they submitted, and a fresh version of one of my commits on the GitHub, and running it through a trusted comparison software. I narrated this to explain what I was doing, just to be clear. Took a while but came up as I knew it would, zero differences. Everyone was stunned. One of the group members uttered, "But." I just laughed. And was quickly asked to hang up as I was no longer involved. Turned out they had cloned one of my commits and still had a copy on their laptop when I blocked their access, not been able to fix it at all, so just submitted it and hoped for the best. One of my friends who is friends with one from my old group asked what grade they got, and they said that they failed the whole module as they got a 0 for the second section, giving them just 5.5% overall for the module. You need 40 to pass, and would have to retake it over the summer, costing them and everyone in my old group their placement year jobs. After all, who wants someone who failed a module so badly and who was intellectually dishonest working for them? This meant that they all lost out on being paid $20K each for the year's work. Which goes a long way for a uni student. While I happily get mine.